Welcome, everybody. Just before this podcast begins, I am going to give you a little public announcement. So, we've had a fair few difficulties filming and editing this podcast. Editing has been so much fun for me. So just bear with us for a bit. This podcast, it's good. It's a good conversation, but it's just not the best quality. So, we have Joe, our sound technician. He's working on it very hard. And we are hoping that next week, or the next podcast coming out in 2 weeks, will be much better. Thank you for your understanding and enjoy the podcast. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Super Informative Podcast. Today, I have with me Connor Kavanagh,
Hello.
Joseph Cotton,
Good morning.
and Akshay Ramchandani. And of course, myself, the best host. Co-host, sorry.
Who said you were the host?
I mean, do most of the work. So
Wow, that hurts.
just gonna put that in there. So we're testing a few new things today. First off, we are recording this podcast for our YouTube release.
Video recording. We record all of
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we're video recording this podcast for our YouTube release. It may not get used. We're just doing it as a test, but that will be coming sometime in the future.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and our faces are in it, then it worked.
Yeah,
If-
that
if-
means it works.
If it's just the same cover image, then you know what happened.
So I highly suggest if you're listening to this on any of the other platforms that we are now on, which includes Spotify,
SoundCloud.
Pocket Cast.
Grinder.
What? We're not on
Said that?
Grindr.
Not yet.
What was it?
Then you finish listening on here, and then you go and rewatch it on YouTube. That's what I'm suggesting.
And other platforms. if you
And
want.
every single other platform.
Actually, just replay it while you sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
That's
over
what
and
I do.
over. That's what you do? That's why we got so
I've
many
never
views
listened to a
last week.
single one. Actually, no, I tried, but
I listened to all of them twice.
so along with the video recording of it, we're trying a new mic setup. So previously, we've had one mic in the middle of the room, which is why it sounds so roomy and so reverby. So now we're trying each having our own individual mics, but we don't know a lot about the mics, so we're giving it a go. If again it sounds like butt and there's a bunch of reverb, that's because instead of now having one microphone with reverb, we now have 4. So that's good.
Yes, indeed.
Walking around in the dark, a little blind.
Yeah, we're giving it a go.
What else? That's about it, right? Oh yes.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
Halloween episode.
It's
Oh.
Halloween.
It is how
Everyone decided they didn't want to participate.
You know, you could
I'm a
you
Vogue
could just
model.
you could just take off the hat and you'd look perfectly no difference.
Yeah, so basically,
actually
I tried
better.
to do a DIY Aladdin, and I had to cut the brim off of my hat.
Yankee with no
Hanky
brim.
with no brim.
You cut your brim off to be Aladdin.
It didn't fit me anyway, so there's no point. Still doesn't fit you. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's supposed to be
Doesn't
the
matter.
back- it's
Doesn't
supposed to be
matter.
the back.
Okay,
I don't know. I've never watched Aladdin.
Okay.
guys,
was gonna
guys,
say-
Guys.
it's a hat. Stop.
Fine, I'll take it
Okay.
off.
So Halloween isn't actually today, but it is tomorrow, and today is our school's Halloween day, I guess. That's settled. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get into the topic. No more updates. Also, we have a Twitter. Go follow that. So today's topic is gonna be money and power. So like topic about rich and powerful people and their relation to the rest of the world. Would you say that's about a fair?
Yeah, I think we're gonna take a few liberties. We're gonna we're not gonna stick specifically to that title, but it's around the topic of, I guess, wealth.
Yeah, and like how it plays with power.
And both in terms of individual people with wealth and like companies and monopolies,
Yeah.
etc. We'll go.
We'll
through
jump around a lot.
Yeah.
Jump around a lot. So the first point I have here is monopolies. So
Love that game.
no,
It's a great
favorite
game.
game.
to be fair, Monopoly. I'm pretty sure Monopoly is based off monopolies.
That's why it's called Monopoly.
I
You
know.
numpty.
I know, but
Okay,
I didn't
can-
actually know for sure.
Do we want to explain what a
Yeah, we'll
monopoly
explain what-
is?
Do you know what a monopoly is, Connor?
No.
So let me explain
Yes,
it to
that's
you. This may not be the best definition, so I would
You want
love
me
it
to
if
get the definition
Akshay
out?
could search up the definition. But it's basically if a business or a person usually a business has complete control over a specific market. So it's like if Disney bought its three biggest competitors and just owned the entire movie industry, basically.
And to be fair, they're sort of on their way
Disney
to
is
doing
probably
that.
one of the closest we have to a proper full-on monopoly in the world right now.
It's because they
No,
Apple-
because there's Samsung, Huawei,
Yeah.
everything else.
A monopoly is like when they actually have full control of they have like no competitors.
Apple has a competitor.
Apple
Competitors.
has a
Clearly, because I own a Samsung phone.
I used to own a Samsung phone,
Exactly.
but then I broke it.
They may be the most popular market, but they are not the market.
Yeah.
I guess.
Why do you guys think that Disney is?
It's
Well,
because they're progressing in that direction.
It's-
because there's
they're progressing in that direction. They're not a monopoly because monopolies are illegal. I'm quite sure they are.
Yeah, no, they're
No,
absolutely.
because you can't have
not.
one company that owns the entire market because then the
Then they
consumers
dictate.
have no choices.
So it's the same as it's on the same vein as how they're not allowed to. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like controlling the price.
yeah, because if you own the entire market, then you just set all of your products prices super high,
Yeah.
and there's no competitors who are like
Yeah.
cheaper.
You're allowed to take off your mask now.
Am I?
Yeah, yeah.
I
You
don't know.
say. Well, you don't even have it on anyway, so you just have it.
It's just comfortable.
Yeah, but what?
Is it?
I'm just getting used to it. I was sitting at home the other day, and I just had my mask on, just in my room. I was like, oh, I should take this off, shouldn't I?
No, it's weird.
Yeah. So another big sort of monopoly, like, or a sort of like a market that's going towards monopolies is like the cereal market and snack market.
Kellogg's.
There's
Yeah.
about 6 companies who own that entire industry.
So there's I think there's we learned this in geography. There's about 6 companies where all major household brands are owned by about 6.
Yeah.
General companies. So like Unilever.
Unilever's one that I've looked
That's
into.
the only one that I remember.
Kellogg's is one of them.
Is it? I thought Kellogg's was owned by Unilever.
Oh, they might be.
There's a big picture of it, but I'm worried if I open another tab on my computer, then my computer's gonna explode. Oh, we will. We can use the green screen.
Oh! We figured out what-
Yeah,
Connor-
well,
Connor-
if of course it works. If not,
Yeah.
then search up
Um,
big company connections.
And if it works, you will see
If
us in the
that might-
Bahamas for the next 10 seconds.
oh yes, Connor just wanted to put the Bahamas behind us for this podcast.
That's so much more editing. You better be doing the editing for
I'm
this.
doing the editing.
I'll make it.
You want it? Okay. I'll
So,
give
no,
you
okay,
my
so you
laptop
can-
for the
so
night,
Connor-
and you can
no,
edit the green screen.
Ryan, you can do the audio. Connor can do the video.
Bet.
Genius.
So yeah, actually, do you have any questions about monopolies?
Yeah, no, it's just the thing about sort of expanding on like why you perceive Disney to
Oh,
getting
yeah.
like
Well, I think from me and Connor would probably be on the same page with this one. That Disney growing up already was like one of the biggest
Mm.
movie production companies, and they made
Yeah.
all the animated movies that were super famous amongst kids.
Yeah.
But then a couple of the other big franchises were Star Wars and the Marvel movies, and now Disney owns both.
Was Star Wars an independent thing?
Yeah,
It was
Lucasfilm.
Lucasfilms.
Oh, and they only made Star
And-
Wars.
Well, maybe. And then Disney bought Lucasfilms.
And then they recently bought, was it Warner
They-
Brothers? No, not
They
no,
bought
that's
20th Century Fox, sorry.
They bought 20th Century Fox, and they bought Marvel.
What about Pixar? Is Pixar still independent?
Pixar's independent.
Pixar doesn't make any movies anymore, do
It's
they?
it's nowhere near as big though.
Yeah, they don't. They used to come out with movies all the time. Yeah, like Toy Story.
I thought
they
Toy
did
Story
some-
was Disney.
They don't, no, it's Pixar. Yeah,
even I think that's
that's where the original lamp comes from.
Disney.
no, so I think that means
Oh, it might be. I don't know. I'm not 100%.
Why is it in Disneyland then?
Oh, that's
They might have bought. They might have bought the rights to it.
Yeah, they might.
It's because there are Disney Pixar films that have come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So, wow, this is a bit scuffed.
Well, no, okay, basically, it's the thing of, you see, you have those huge companies that have so much influence over,
Yeah.
like, entire markets, and just moving a bit away from monopolies, then there's, I guess, obviously, the people at the top then there's sort of those billionaires that
Mm.
obviously moving away from companies. It's just talking about, I guess, those people that have so much money as an individual, such as like Bill Gates, Donald Trump.
So before we get onto that, we can still talk about how companies almost so nearly overrule the government.
Yeah, well, if a company like Coca-Cola, a massive conglomerate corporation, is in your country, and you do something they don't like, they can literally just up and leave. That removes hundreds of thousands of jobs. It removes so much from the economy.
So yes, absolutely, but you can even be more direct than that. In that, obviously, it's not. We can't say it definitely, but so Trump's campaign was very much funded by a lot of oil companies.
Yeah.
And so he was obviously against sort of the like renewable energies and so on and so forth, and very much supported oil companies. And obviously they create lots and lots of jobs, and that's sort of what America was built on, and so on and so forth. But he then created policies kind of because he then had the obligation to these companies. So in that case, they are absolutely influencing.
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
That's kind of how politicians aren't really politicians for themselves.
Yeah, they're just
They're obligated to support whatever their sponsors want.
well, whoever their supporters are, and
Yeah,
now that companies are becoming supporters in themselves.
Supporters, yes, but sponsors even more so.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Republican politicians are usually supported by people who like the NRA, so they have to be for the National Rifle Association.
Or they lose the sponsorship.
So they have to be pro guns, or they lose that money that they then use to campaign.
Exactly. So
it
was the
future.
same. It was
the
same deal with oil companies.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why Trump is all like so pro rich people.
Who?
Trump.
Well, Trump is okay. So
he is a rich person, but it's
himself.
also because a lot of his sponsors will be very wealthy companies and people who want to keep their money and make more of it.
So when we say we're not going to get into politics, but when we say pro rich people, do you mean?
Well, he's
you're talking about the
barely any tax.
Yeah, I was going to say. So he's
It's easier to make money, easier to keep money,
easier for not tax evasion but tax breaks, which is how he made all his money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I've watched.
Wasn't there a thing where they showed the amount of tax he paid? I think it was in
$750.
Less. I thought it was less. I thought it was like
No, it was-
250.
No, it was 750.
The millionaire
Yeah,
paid $750 in tax
Yeah.
over 2 years.
But he's also millions of dollars in debt as well.
Yeah, but that's because he's a really bad business.
So he to get Trump Towers and his casino, both of them required massive tax breaks on the grounds that he will create jobs, will create tourism, will create office spaces, so on and so forth. So he's building on the city, which I agree with, but
Surely Trump Towers is losing money because now it's just getting destroyed every once in a while, and they have to repair it. Protesters outside.
But again, let's not get.
Yeah.
Now it's just straight politics. But yeah, so that's just proof that now politics is no longer sort of for the people. It's becoming more and more for the.
Yeah, so it's sort of like the billionaires and the really rich corporations behind those politicians are controlling the world, basically. I believe that. But then there are a lot of billionaires, or I wouldn't say a lot. Most billionaires keep most of their money or spend it personally, obviously, because it's their money. They worked hard for it. It's most of them.
We'll get to that later.
Most of them. But there are some of them who they're boss. When I say some, I mean one. Elon Musk is probably the coolest person I could ever imagine to be a billionaire. He's basically.
Is he a billionaire?
He's been a billionaire.
No, he definitely has been a billionaire
For a decent amount of time.
Thought he was just a millionaire. Just a millionaire.
What a loser. Who's
What a
just
normie,
millionaire?
dude.
That simple little, oh, you little millionaire, huh?
What, you don't have a yacht as big as mine? But Elon spends a lot of his money on bettering the world.
I'd say so, but also,
A lot more than most billionaires.
oh yeah. But I
He's
think
trying to do the Tony Stark.
you know that they based
Yeah,
Iron Man off Elon.
Well, at least
Mhm.
the movie and the aesthetics.
His
And-
like the
and
his
he was in it.
eccentric billionaire sort of,
playboy philanthropist.
yeah. They based that sort of Iron Man's personality off
And do you
Elon
know
Musk.
Elon Musk made a cameo in Iron Man 2?
When they were at
How
the
old
race.
How old is Iron Man?
2008 was the first film,
Yeah,
something like that.
I genuinely didn't know that Elon Musk was that. Like that. I thought he was like one of the newest billionaires.
He made
Well,
PayPal.
He
I
made
know
his
he made
mo-
PayPal, but he was never really famous.
Did he create Tesla? Like,
Well,
Yeah.
no. He was one of the original members.
Yeah,
I don't think he started the idea, but he came in like a couple weeks or
'cause-
months after
yeah.
it started, and he like really
So
he
he
brought
funded it.
he brought brains to the table.
It's like me in the podcast.
No. Well, you were one of the last people to join.
That's what I'm saying. I am the Elon Musk of this
Not
podcast.
rich or brainy.
I'm work hard. At least I work hard. At least I work
At
for my
least-
money.
At least you work hard.
I work for my money.
Work hard. But with his innovations like
It's about to get personal.
with his innovations like Tesla and SpaceX and the Boring Company.
Oh, the Boring Company, yeah. Borrow. Yeah,
he's-
but they go on.
he's spent most of those. He puts a lot of his money into those companies, which are focused on making not only saving Earth but also providing a backup plan to get the fuck out if it dies.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, from like obviously from Tesla, it's sort of giving a renewable solution to cars.
Yeah, because
No.
it is.
Not completely. So an electric vehicle, all it does is shift the power source to
yeah,
a
and,
power
it
station. So it's
entirely
not-
depends on whether it came from renewable
it's not
electricity.
It's not 100%. But then he also has that solar panel company.
I guess it's the if you understand what I mean, it provides that if theoretically, if the entire world reverted to renewable electricity, then obviously owning a Tesla car would.
No, but
Yeah.
I heard that the hybrid cars are probably better. I think for the I think this is speculation. I think because of the Toyota Priuses, because they're hybrid cars, so they're more efficient because they can regen. So, but are they better for the environment?
So it depends. So the Tesla system that we were just talking about with the solar panels. So he has I don't know whether it's under the Tesla umbrella company, but he does do this thing where you can get this package of the supercharger, the car, the solar panels, and what they can do is they can install enough solar panels to cover the supercharger, which obviously takes up a lot, the house, and then you can even
Money
make
by selling it to a power
yeah,
station.
so you can then sell to the grid.
So any excess power.
Yeah, it's incredible. So my only problem with it though is that it's then very expensive. Otherwise, everyone would have it. Otherwise, we would have it by now.
Well, yeah, but that's how all new innovations started. Because cars before, I'd say when cars I think first started coming around, I think late 1800s, they were sort of a thing only owned by the upper class. And then I think it was Henry Ford who made the Model T automobile, which was the first sort of affordable car to the middle class. And then, as the technology moves forward, it becomes more and more affordable to the masses.
Yeah, I just think it's with innovation.
Yeah, and I think that I'd say the same with Tesla, because I'd say I see a lot more Teslas around than I ever have in I'd say when I was in year 7.
Another part of that company, the solar power package, is this solar box that just stores power. So even if it's like
So if
cloudy or
there's a power
something,
cut.
you've still got power.
But that's
So-
with most.
So if you
solar
think
panel
about it,
things.
it might be expensive, but you're probably not going to need to pay for power. ever again unless you pay for like maintenance of the solar panels or anything.
So yeah, but it's that sort of.
Plus, you make back on your investment.
Yeah, it's that idea of you have to pay to gain money, but it's.
Akshay is not recording, so Akshay is
it
gonna
might have
come
picked up.
and
might have
sit
picked
with
up
me.
on the-
You're gonna come over here, Akshay. The problem child of the problem child of the podcast.
If we're gonna get into audio issues, Connor, you need to move closer to your mic.
Oh, I hate it.
Okay.
Why am I
Hey,
like
it's okay.
this?
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So as you can tell, we're having a couple issues
working on
with evolving the podcast, but
Do you wanna put your mic on the stand so you don't have to share it, hold it like that?
I don't mind, to be honest.
Oh, otherwise,
it's okay,
we'll
it's
just
okay.
have a weird.
It will definitely get better in the upcoming podcast.
Yeah.
We will-
Again, this was we're
We're
experimenting.
experimenting.
We knew there'd probably be an issue coming.
Teenagers, that's what we do.
Yeah, we're learning about life,
Working on
guys.
it. Well, if we're gonna get into the same thing that we were just talking about, we need to invest into this podcast not better mics, because these mics are okay. It's just I need to look into how I can improve the audio quality.
Joe was looking into
That's my
Or
job.
maybe,
you see-
or
So
I'm
let's
just
Alright,
audio
can I just say
engineer, you know what I
something?
mean?
What you see, one of the improvements we found is that because hopefully if the video works, you will be able to see the look of despair that actually had on his face when he realized that he wasn't recording. See, you're getting,
because this is the second time that this has happened where I've messed up the.
we've gone over the previous time many occasions.
Yeah, I think every time we meet.
It's okay. I think anyone who does listen to this podcast regularly, which I doubt there are very many. I do know there are at least 2 people, you and Connor. Oh, maybe Bob as well. All right, we see Mr. So yeah, in essence, we're working on it. We're working on it. What I was trying to say was that but the starting price is still high. So if you ever want to make, because apparently now we're talking about environmental protection. If you ever want to make a difference like that, you have to really work on the initial costs, because it's the same as if you want to. It's the same problem with many charities have with like digging wells in impoverished villages, that they just can't get the funding. Each well is like $100, and they have to make 5,000 wells, so they have to invest in getting the technology to make each well easier to build. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. That was his plan, wasn't it? To make that. So he wanted to. He came out with the supercar first, right? The Roadster. Yeah, the one that's in space. Yeah, he put a car into orbit.
Oh, isn't it the one that's playing Space Oddity on repeat?
Yeah.
What?
With the fake astronaut.
No.
Oh my days.
What?
It's live streaming still, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah. You can look at it later, but I'm pretty sure it's going to Mars.
No, I think it's just orbiting Earth.
No, I thought it was it's going to Mars to orbit Mars.
Maybe, or he could have shot it into space.
It would have been out of battery by now.
All I know is what do you?
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't see.
it's
I didn't
playing
see any
Space
solar
Oddity
panels.
forever. Dude, views on
Until the
views on
speakers-
Spotify.
Until the speaker
Dude, David Bowie getting banged.
blows. You can't play sound in space.
I'm pretty sure it's like a radio.
It's in the car.
Ryan, it's a convertible.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
It is.
it
It
is.
is.
Also, cars aren't airtight.
I'm gonna redact that comment.
It's in the car,
Oh,
stupid.
it's in the car.
No, but don't you think that Elon Musk would have sort of just a business mindset about this? But like, do you truly think that he may want to sort of better the environment?
Well, No. I understand what actually is saying in that
Question Elon Musk in front of me. Try it.
it's because here's the thing. There's obviously he has an interest in it, because I think if he was looking at it purely from a financial perspective, he would have gone for some other enterprise. That it's because he is most likely not making a profit off SpaceX. I don't.
They get paid by companies to put satellites.
But then even Tesla makes a loss, doesn't it?
They did for a
They
while.
did
Yeah,
at
exactly.
the beginning
It's-
of the company, but that's because of the stigma around electric cars. People are like, that's not going to work.
Yeah, well, no, what I'm saying, he obviously has an interest in it, and I think the thing about him is that it's his personality is what makes. I think his personality is a lot of what makes him is a part of his success. I believe
It
It's
also
'cause-
makes him so stupid.
yes, we'll get to that later. But I think that's the thing, is that it's almost his personality is a form of almost, it's what's the word, like advertisement?
Yeah, it's free marketing. It's free marketing.
Yeah, essentially, because
the way he is almost like a meme on the internet, it just gets him so much press and marketing material. Like when he smashed the square.
yeah, but we don't
Cybertruck, the Cybertruck.
Cybertruck.
we don't know
Well, I
whether
don't think
that
that was
we don't know
intentional.
whether that was an accident or
It was.
intentional.
I
We'll get to
do
that.
not think that
I think
that
it was.
may have
I
been.
think it was for sure real. Like not like it was on purpose.
But the thing is, what I love about it is everyone who knows what they're doing in business is like, that guy's an absolute idiot. But no, but everyone else is just like, that guy
It's
is
like-
dope
is it-
as shit. I want a Tesla now.
He's a genius.
It's really clever because he's like flipping it on its head.
Yeah.
Of course, he wants to better the planet. Like you wouldn't get into renewable energy unless you had some interest in saving the planet.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine,
But
that makes sense.
renewable energy is it's so bad for a business. It's so bad because oil companies are so huge. There's no space.
Yeah.
Because it's a monopoly. Because everything is built on it.
Plus, it's all based on location, basically. So if you have oil, you're rich. In your area.
Yeah,
that's why in like
we can see sort of examples of oil, like what are they? Yeah, in the Middle East, like, and God, like the amount of money
That's got the highest income of any area.
yeah, like the amount of money that those individual people have, it's it's unfathomable. It's literally just
Yeah, no, they can like people say, oh yeah, once you have money, you can do whatever you want. You can those people can do anything.
well, it's because we can see things like sort of, I guess you could say, football clubs, and that how they will literally buy a football club just for fun, and then
like Manchester City. Right?
yeah, Manchester City, like literally just because they have so much money, they're just like,
But didn't they get like didn't
Go.
something happen with that as well? Because they were gonna get kicked out of the Champions League or something.
oh yeah, because they spent too much money, but that's going into
Oh, that's
football. But yeah, it just shows like just the if you oil is clearly the superior in terms of financially.
Yeah.
Financial market.
So that's what I was trying. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say earlier. Is that the reason it's so financially stable, I guess, is because there's been so much R&D into it. Because it's that's what so many countries are built off of, is the oil industry. So there's been so much money into it, so much R&D, so that it's not like anyone's going to make a new oil company anytime soon. But like it's so cheap and so easy because there's been so much. You know what I mean? So for a developing country, so there was a plan in early 2010s, I think, and India was going to build 100 new um, fossil fuel electricity generators, and part of I can't remember who it was, but quite a lot of the people in the UN said, that's not good. We can't have that much more because of the climate change and the Paris Agreement and blah 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 blah. But India was like, well, what are we going to do? We don't have the money for this for these like wind farms, these blah 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 blah. we have to use this in order to get the power we need. We have 1 billion people. It's so much easier and so much cheaper to do this. You know, you just don't have the
innovations in the oil field have made it so affordable for these
yeah.
poorer countries
Yeah.
or
But
countries
it's not.
with higher needs.
It's not even just more affordable. It just makes more sense because the investment, the amount you pay versus the amount you get back. There's probably a term for that in business. Don't know it. That it's so much greater.
Yeah, but don't you think with that it's sort of like don't you think it's sort of like a cycle? If one country invests in so many fossil fuel based like energy sources, don't you think it will still continue to sort of destroy the environment, and then they will need to
Yeah.
branch out and getting more of the fossil fuel because their economy is slowly
Yeah,
dying.
no, that's what that's why everyone in everyone else was like, you can't do that. We've got a crisis in the moment. You can't just build this many more. I think they ended up using nuclear power stations, which are far more efficient, far more blah, blah, blah. It's just more expensive. But I think they ended up needing funding from the UN and I think it was UNESCO.
Well, what do you like? What do you like with that? Yeah, of course. Companies should be funding in these sort of countries and companies. But don't you think that sort of the billionaires should be held accountable if they sort of don't contribute to society?
No, I think
We have opposing opinions. But
I don't think billionaires should specifically be held accountable because it's not their fault that they don't have to contribute to society. I think if people don't like the fact that billionaires exist, even if they worked hard for their money, they had a good idea and they capitalized on it. And yelling at billionaires isn't going to do anything. You might peer pressure them into, spending $1 billion, but still, as people say, that's like nothing to them. What you need to do is you need to go to your government or your politicians and you need to increase tax for the wealthy. If you earn over this much in a year, your tax is this high. If you earn below it, your tax is less. That's what people need to do, and Trump is going directly against that. I'm not going to bring it back to
That's Joe Biden's policy, isn't it?
that's how it should be.
I
And
absolutely
people
agree with that.
misunderstood it and thought that he just
You
wants
can say
to.
it's communism.
Well, it sort of is. Sharing what you have, but it's fair if you have that much more and everyone else in your country is poor or everyone in the world is poor.
I don't think
That's how you grow as a
You
country.
should pick up the slack almost.
But the thing is, it's not their. I agree with you. It's not their responsibility, but I do. Yeah, it's just ethically like.
well, no, it's just was is that sort of Jeff Bezos, wasn't it that he has enough money to it was something like solve world hunger and still be a billionaire. It's just obviously he doesn't have to because there's nothing saying that he like sort of by law has to donate all of his money, but it's just that what do you do with that much money? It's just no one human being needs that much wealth to live a happy life.
So I wonder how much money they actually have in, like, liquid.
In the
Not
top
in like
liquid.
assets.
What's the word? What's the
liquidity,
liquid?
it's basically just cash.
Yeah. So like stuff that
In the
they can
bank.
spend as opposed to like all their property. and their
Liquidity
cars
is
and
like
stuff.
immediate money that you can spend.
So like I wonder how much they could just say, not just say, but like how much they could donate to UNESCO biospheres, which are like conservation sites or
So in general,
saving world hunger.
So in general, do we have like this sort of agreement that billionaires shouldn't be held accountable, but sort of should
They can be criticized. They can definitely be.
Everyone
criticized.
on the earth can be criticized, but I think that these billionaires, they're obviously people too. They have their own opinions. If you work hard for this money, you're not just going to be like, wait, so these people are telling me that I have to spend money on this issue? Why?
No, I completely agree, but so my point is that yes, they worked hard for that money, but I can, other than Elon Musk, who seems to be very, very, very active in his company, so someone like Bill Gates.
Bill Gates spends billions of dollars.
No, I know, no. So someone, I'm not saying that Bill Gates doesn't help. I'm saying someone like Bill Gates probably doesn't have a lot to do with, like, actually physically helping with Microsoft. He's probably just take it's not it won't be passive income, because he'll obviously have something to do with it, but
Yeah.
it almost is just passive income. So my point is, if you have enough money to not, that's why I was talking about that liquidation. If you have enough money to continue the lifestyle that you're in, which is obviously very lavish and very you have a good lifestyle, and you have enough to then give down to your kids, why would you not help, like, other people? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, why, like if there's literally, or you know, so it's been calculated that it's going to cost the world more to continue the way that we're doing, the way that we're going in terms of climate change, than to actually invest in renewable resources and so on and so forth. Just in like natural disaster relief and such.
But yeah, I think a lot of billionaires do actually do a lot because they kind of
Okay,
have
sure.
to keep people at bay. They are. It's true. It's true.
The common folk
No.
You stay down, boy.
Because if with the current movement that's
to keep the herds passive.
with the current movement that's evolving or emerging from society with like billionaires shouldn't exist,
Eat the rich.
eat the rich sort of stuff, they've probably been going against opinions like that for decades, and rightfully so. Sure, nobody needs that much money, but I don't know, to be they to keep this at bay and to stop it from getting to a point where they're like scared for their existence, because now people are starting to threaten them for having that much money. They have to hire security and stuff because some of them don't feel safe around it. It's just messed. Like,
yeah, no. So
fix it through politics. Don't fix it through going to the.
But I'd say that's just common. I think everybody with any form of influence is at some point threatened. I wouldn't say that it's
but
it's not solely billionaires. I say you could look at athletes, celebrities.
these people are threatened for like people blaming them for world hunger because they don't go and fix it themselves. That's what I have heard is happening to them.
Well, I guess it's the thing of,
And whilst sure they could fix it, one of the main slogans or points or sayings that these people use is $1 million to them is like pocket change to us. But at the end of the day, it is still $1 million. It goes a lot further than your pocket change.
yeah, but Ryan, okay, if you're in the situation where you could solve world hunger and still be a billionaire, would you not feel a bit bad if you didn't do it?
yeah, no. If it's been proven that you can do something to literally
Okay,
Say
take it this way.
billions.
Take it this way. I'm Jeff Bezos. I care a lot about Amazon because I started it in my garage 30 years ago or whatever. So I want to allocate, say, 30% of my wealth to improving the company, right? So expanding it, making it as successful as it can be because you want to be proud of your creation. Then you have, does he have any kids? You have kids, you have a wife. Your wife already took half your money.
Yeah, because he cheated on her.
Did he?
Yes.
Okay, then it's fair.
Yeah.
But,
And she donated
but
like
you have-
most of it to charity.
you have that stuff, and you want, even though you know they're not going to need $80 billion to be able to get through life, you want to be able to protect them.
He has 4 children.
He has 4 children. You're going to sit there and think, okay, well, I really want them to have a comfortable life. I want them to pay for the best schooling, the best, and even though he won't need $80 billion to do that, the fear, the thought in his mind of what if it's not enough, that could easily go into his mind. Think about it, Connor.
80
You
we're
have
talking about $80 billion.
you have that much
dude.
wealth. You have that much wealth, and you have 4 kids who you love more than anything, are you not gonna want to? Even
Yes,
if
of
even
course,
if you
but
know the
I'm not
prices,
gonna need 80 billion.
I know, but you can start to see how he could think in his head, like, what if?
Yeah, but that's just tunnel vision.
Yeah, but no, it's not tunnel vision. It's not. It's just they have lived that life. I see what you're talking about, Ryan, but I don't think it's like that. I think it's obviously I'm not a billionaire.
Or Jeff Bezos.
Tell us about your personal
I mean, you look like
experience,
him.
Joe.
So if I was in that situation, I do know that a lot of people like that have started being broke, do you know what I mean? Starting a thing. They want their kids to not need to do that.
And I think one person who's sort of preparing their kids for that is Bill Gates. I know he has 3 kids, and I think he's said that he's going to give each of them like $10 million when he dies in his will and donate the rest of it to charity. But he's doing that because he wants them to be comfortable, but he also doesn't want them to feel completely secure
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say.
for
Yeah.
some things that they have.
Yeah, it's because then you just inherit it, like
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah, no, whoa. So I'm going to disagree with you there, actually. So that's one thing that I do admire Trump on a little bit, is because although, yes, he did inherit his father's construction business, he then built it up to the point where he was able to get that massive tax break, even though I don't agree with it.
He's quite in debt.
Okay, I'm not going to say,
Yeah, I know you're not like.
but you can't say that he didn't work hard. Although, what I do disagree with. So what I do disagree with is the fact that I don't like it when people then say, "Oh yeah, but I worked." You know, when someone says, "Oh yeah, but you inherited your money," and then they say, "Yeah, but no, but I worked," so it's not, it doesn't count. That's what. Oh, oh no, that's what privilege is the fact that he started on that higher step, whereas we wouldn't have that opportunity. That's yeah. So
Equality
that's what I'm saying.
is about not removing that step for the rich people, but bringing everyone else up to that
yeah,
step.
yeah.
So it's no longer a step.
Then there's no
Well,
such thing as privilege.
probably not the same thing as rich people.
But you can see how it's quite snobby almost when he says like, "I'm a self-made man. I only got a small loan
That's what I
Of a
disagree with.
million
of $1
dollars.
million." That's a famous quote from Trump. It's only a small loan.
Yeah, but
It's
then
barely anything.
and then there's things like what's Kylie Jenner being the youngest self-made billionaire. Like,
Yeah, but yet it wasn't even her.
yeah, but you see, that's the other thing
She
is that
has all the money that her parents have. She has all the connections that
She
her
has a
family
silver
Yeah,
has.
but-
Exactly.
and-
So we're not going to say she didn't work hard. She started all this. She has that makeup company. She has this, that, and the other.
Pointed out that she also has a silver spoon.
I beg your pardon.
That's exactly what we're
A
talking about.
silver spoon
Upper hiney.
up her hiney.
So that's what we're talking about. Is that we're not saying she didn't work hard, and we're not saying that millionaires don't work hard, but the fact that they started on that higher foot, if they don't recognize that, I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's because it's things. I think another example would be: did you guys see what the Kim Kardashian thing about? Like she put this like Twitter post out like, oh, over these last few months, I've realized the simple luxury of just traveling, and so I had all my inner circle quarantined for 2 weeks and took them on a trip to a private island, and then we just for 2 weeks remembered what normal life was like, and I'm
Normal life in our large villa.
and I'm humbly reminded of my privilege. Humbly.
But look at me in my bikini on my private island with all my friends who quarantined for 1 week.
And
So
we
humble.
got the private jet in.
exactly.
My humble privilege.
I am humble.
It's just the naivety and all this stuff that contributes to this.
But okay, so again, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate. Is that I disagree with what she said, but when you have that much money, you can't then.
Yeah, she can spend it. that's the point of when you have money. It's you obviously you give yourself luxury because then you earned it. It's what it's I guess it's what people want. Why do people want?
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, it's like the thing. If I was a very financially unstable person, and what I want is to be financially stable. Why? So I can have a better life. That's literally why you want money. It's so that you can improve your way of living. So if you get that much money and you don't obviously use it to give yourself the luxuries that you want to have, then what's the point of having the money? But it's also using using some of it to better others.
So some of us, someone could, talking about that Kim Kardashian thing, someone could say the same about us. We posted on Instagram about our trip to Bali for school. We posted about.
It's all about perspective. For us,
Just said that.
oh, I know it's crazy.
Those exact words.
didn't
Stop
listen.
reading my mind.
Continue.
But to us, these super rich people seem like they're super rich, and they seem like they have so much money, and we could never get there, or we to that. Yeah, but then if you took somebody who's living in a underprivileged area and they don't have the same luxuries as us, even though we don't think of them as luxuries when we compare ourselves to them. But if we want to humble ourselves and think, instead of thinking ahead of us, think behind us, then we'll see that to these underprivileged people that we would be the equivalent of them, and those people to the underprivileged people would just be mind blowing.
So it's almost that idea of you always think you have it the hardest, and we've been talking about all this stuff, but if we look at someone who, their parents, they grew up in a cage home, we've got it nice. We've all got nice houses.
Yeah,
we all
just for clarification, we're not saying that we have it bad. We are by all means very privileged to be in the position that we are, to even be able to just do a podcast. Yeah.
with our own mics that we all paid for.
We all have laptops. We can go on vacation.
Exactly.
We are by no means.
And it always cracks me up because my family goes, "Oh, can't believe we can't go anywhere for this summer." It's like, yeah, but do you know what I mean? The fact that we are saying that, and I'm not saying anything about the pandemic. It's just the fact that we haven't been, we haven't, we haven't traveled in 9 months, and we're all like, I miss traveling. Okay, I know people who have never been out of the UK, never been out of their own county because they can't afford a. Okay, no, it's not that they can't afford it. But I know that people, some people can't afford a train ticket to the next county in the UK or the next state in the
If you look
US.
at people in even say like Africa, where they don't have to worry about paying their bills, they have to worry about getting food, getting clean water.
Exactly.
Again, it's just perspective. There's different priorities. If you yeah.
I think we've
drifted away from power. Oh, we haven't. But now we're at the lower end of the power spectrum.
but if we look at it, we it's still the same. They have lots of power. We also have power.
Yeah,
We have power in our own circle.
I think these people.
It's all about that
So
perspective.
just wealth creates
A lot-
this sort of this power.
A lot of these people who are protesting against billionaires honestly probably haven't done that much to help the things that they're fighting for billionaires to do. They're just
Oh, so you mean they haven't put their own
deflecting.
actions into
They're
place?
deflecting the issue onto somebody else, and they're saying we could help, but they could help more. So we're just going to yell at them to do it instead of us.
Yeah.
I get what you mean, but also I think it's that doesn't mean that billionaires can't be criticized. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying billionaires, everyone can be criticized.
I understand what you mean because it's things like it's things like on Instagram when people post things raising awareness for issues while I think it's very well. Obviously, it's good to raise awareness. It's obviously good to raise awareness. I think at times it may sort of.
I think I'm gonna put a very unpopular opinion out there, which isn't devil's advocate. It's my actual opinion. I think most protesting nowadays does jack all
In what? In where? Where?
in any walk of life, in any issue. There's almost like a linear system that people should follow if they want to make meaningful change. And I think our generation, sure, protesting is a part of that, and the masses voicing their opinions and showing the people in power what they want. But I think we have to take it a step further. Our generation seems to get quite stuck on the protesting.
You mean rather than doing it formally,
Yeah,
like
like,
going up
if
to your
you look
local
at Greta
council and
Thunberg,
then trying to get it through?
She started protesting. She skipped school and everything. She skipped, what was it, like every Friday of school, and she just sat outside of school for climate change. But then she took it a step further and she started becoming a proper activist.
Yeah, but isn't that because that there were, I guess she has people behind it, if you understand what I mean. That she obviously didn't just.
Yeah,
It's not solely just her. And then she suddenly
I may be
ended up at
misinformed.
UN.
I
And
may
stuff.
be a little misinformed, but she did take it a step further. She's now doing stuff like speaking in the UN, being very public about it, and drawing a lot of attention. People will go up and hold a sign, like we did that once. We went to the protest about climate change in Hong Kong. What the fuck did we do? Sure, we showed our support. We raised awareness. People in Hong Kong may have saw us for one day and like, oh, climate change. I should help that. But what did we actually do? Long-term solutions. We didn't donate any money. We didn't.
Yeah, so that's I think that's
We
the
just
point of
walked.
protesting, is to show people.
Yeah, I'd say protesting does a decent amount. I'd say
Probably be more in agreement with Ryan though.
Right.
Well,
No.
it's
So-
I'm not saying that it doesn't do stuff.
It does.
For
I'd say it
sure,
does a lot.
for sure, it does stuff, and it voices your opinion, but it lets people in power know that there are this many people who want the change. But in the long run, people will forget about it unless you do it consistently over all the way until there is that change.
Yeah, but that's what
I feel like that's also like power has a way of going around.
It's a
that,
cycle.
around sort of protesting to an extent. Like
Yeah, no, Ryan. So the only way you can really do what you're suggesting is if it's an absolutely perfect system, which absolutely, positively does not exist. So what you're trying to say is that you should be able to go through the system and send sorry, I got distracted. You should be able to go through the system and be heard and have changes be implemented. But if you're a person without that privilege, who is of a lower income, who is seen as less important, it's not going to work that way. So people feel like the only way that they can be heard is to go and
I
protest.
might backtrack a little bit here. The main way that I would expect people to have change is through politics and elections, because if you elect people that have the same morals as you, have the same, like, what they want to change in society, and you get them elected, that's how you're going to cause real change. If you get enough of them elected and they can rule a house in America or the equivalent of that in any other country, then you can implement new laws and changes into your society that promote the positive change that you want to see. And I can see how protesting does that. I'm going to backtrack a bit and say that protesting, for sure, it raises awareness for that, but I think nowadays there's so many protests about so many issues, and they're so spaced out that you almost don't get to focus on one, or you forget about others when one is more prevalent. Like the Black Lives Matter protests, they have been so constant, and everyone in the world is thinking, Black Lives Matter, this is a fucked system, we need to change this. And it's almost taking away from other issues, which I'm not saying one or the other is more important, but I am saying that we need to almost come together as a society and decide like what we need.
So I would.
And that's probably why democracy is so hard.
You know, so
Just figured out what democracy is, guys.
what I'm gonna say is I would agree with you, but I would also agree with Connor in the fact that a protest gives. Yeah, but it needs to be in conjunction with the going through the system. So it's almost that a perfect example would be rallies and voting. So yes, you have rallies just to physically show that you have these many people behind you, and B, that you show your support as the supporter. But then people still go and vote through the system formally. So I think it has to be on both sides.
I don't know how. I'm not gonna present an opinion with this one, but what do you guys think about the voting age? Because
That's a different.
yeah, I know, but a
point
big
of view.
movement that is going forward is the fact that we've seen a lot more young people like Greta, they voicing their opinions, and their opinions becoming more important than it used to be.
Sorry, it cracked me up the way that you said
But-
Greta, like your homie. Yeah.
Yo, Greta, shout out to
G-Dog.
Greta. Yo,
G-Dog.
come on the podcast, Greta, and Elon Musk, do it. But what do you guys think about how the government should incorporate that instead of just letting them speak? Do you think we should almost lower the voting age, or do you think them being a little more underdeveloped would hinder the efficiency of the government?
So
Well, I think the thing is, those young people are eventually going to get older.
guys,
Yeah.
either way, we're on 58 minutes. We're gonna have to call it in a little while.
58?
So whatever.
Damn. No, just
Um,
keep going.
Wow. So yeah, I this is also very off topic, but that's okay.
Well, it's
Um,
it's talking about the power of the people.
Power of the people. So yes, I would agree. I don't know how to say this because I think lowering the age to 16 or something where people can actually start forming an opinion. I think. Yes, but then I would also. A part of me wants to say there should be a cap on the age, like there should be an upper age limit as well. Because if you have an 80-year-old who just wants the world to be the same, as humans we do not want change, but change is always needed.
But I guess is that opinion, while we may see it as wrong, still not, I guess, valued. I guess.
But then why is a 12-year-old's opinion not valued?
I guess it's the idea of I think it's the idea of maturity.
Speaking to your microphone.
It's
Yeah,
the
but-
idea of maturity,
But
is it not?
with age comes deterioration of the brain.
Not
not
all
among
the
everyone,
time.
But
Yeah.
you can also say the same that 16-year-olds, as Joe suggested, or potentially suggested that we lower the voting age to, hypothetically. So there are plenty of 16-year-olds who attend these Black Lives Matter. There are plenty of 10-year-olds
True,
who
but
attend all these political
But
or these protests,
I'd
and they
s-
spot on. They have their morals. I would say that they.
But at what point is that just their parents?
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. Is that I'd say, especially during your teenage years, your values change drastically. Who I was 2 years ago is completely different to who I am now. So it's the idea. It's the idea of these. Yeah, it's the idea of. I have no idea if I'm gonna still think the same way in 2 years, and it's the idea that I, through those opinions, could have changed an entire election. And we're very impressionable.
That's not just something with teenagers. Sure, we may be more impressionable and we may be more affected by what other people say, but everyone's values change throughout their entire lives.
And I think it's also just the ripple effect of that. Let's say theoretically you lower the voting age to 16, and let's say you do that in America. You can't drink until you're this age. You can't do that. It's then I think the reason why that isn't a case and will not be a case is just because it theoretically makes sense, and also it'd just be so difficult to implement.
So technically in America, you could theoretically have a baby at 16, but you can't vote until another 2 years. You can drive, you can make decisions on the. Yeah, that's a bit different. You can drive at 15 in some states, but you can't vote. You can be,
When you're old enough to, oh, I don't know, one potential idea is if you're old enough to take a life, you're old enough to do it, or to vote, to like be a full-fledged member of society who can.
Take a life.
Yeah. So in America, that would probably be more around guns, but let's talk about normal people for a second. In the country, when you're allowed to drive, I would say that's when you're allowed to vote, because you're on the roads. You could potentially kill someone at any moment. You have to make no, you do. You have to make
no.
you have to make decisions.
It's just a different.
Decisions through what you do every single second, and you have to think about what you're going to do and everything. You have to be able to make pretty good decisions.
So yeah, no, absolutely. But the way that I'm thinking of it is that once you start contributing to society, that's when you should be able to make.
That would probably be the other one. When like it's work, when you're legally allowed to work. That's
Which I think is about 15, 16 in most places. So
16 is when you can live on your own.
Yeah,
but then you're not. But then
in where in Hong Kong.
I think 16 is the age that you're allowed to
you're allowed
live.
to drop out of school. Yeah. No. So in the UK, you can drop out of school at 16 legally. Well, technically you can drop out at any point, but like it's kind of legally you're allowed to drop out of school at 16 for like we could have not taken IB and taken up an apprenticeship of woodworking or bricklaying, and it would be completely fine. It'd be the same. Whereas, why are you not able to vote at that point? But then you're also not paying taxes. So
Again, there's so many factors.
The final factor would be maturity in a sense, because whilst there are a lot of people who are 10 and 16 who go to these protests and they want what's best for the world and they have what they think is good in their mind, and they want to get that elected into the government or put into the government, there are also a lot of 16-year-old kids younger than that who would honestly just
vote for Kanye West.
Yeah, they'd use their vote as a joke. And
Connor,
I would not. I'm not going to vote for Kanye if I could.
You can't.
Yeah,
Anyways.
if I could, I would not. I just like his music.
Oh my god.
But like you can also see like all these people who voted Trump in originally, not all of them, but a lot of them were joke votes, and a lot of people who are voting for Kanye now are actually throwing their vote away whilst their country needs it. Their country.
Okay, before we wrap up, can I just say one thing that I forgot to end? The thing I was saying about posting on Instagram, I'm not saying that posting about the issues on Instagram is useless. Yeah, I'm not saying it's useless. I'm just saying that it raises awareness, obviously, and it's very important. But I think sometimes some people mistake it for actually taking actual change. Not saying that you should stop doing it. It's good and all that, but
when it comes to posting on Instagram, you should pay a lot of attention to hashtags. Specifically with that Blackout Tuesday thing, people who hashtag Black Lives Matter, one of the big problems that came from that, like whilst you're showing a little bit of support for the Black Lives Matter movement, you're posting a black square, you're clogging up an actual feed that provides news and information and actual concrete ways to donate and support the movement.
And yeah, the other thing is that some people, I guess, just post it as a way of what's it called, virtue signaling. It's where it's because I remember someone I knew who put one of the black squares, and from my memory of them, that does not reflect who they were as a person. It's that idea of, oh, look at, not saying that it's and also not saying that it's like a bad thing to do. It's some people just do it. Some people do it without it reflecting their actual values.
No. Because no one's gonna say at least no one that we know is going to say I disagree with the Black Lives Matter movement. But the problem that you're trying to say is that they've done nothing else to help the movement. So they've posted a square. They haven't.
He's talking about their past and things like
Almost being like
saying specific
Yeah.
words when you are not
the N-word when they're not allowed to.
well, when they're not socially, it's not socially acceptable for them to.
They were white.
Yes. Not saying names.
They were white. Actually, they pulled a Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna do a concluding statement, which will be done by Joe.
So we talked a lot about not so much as what we were going to talk about. We talked a lot about sort of. I think
It was good.
Pretty
It was
pretty fleshy.
if you guys
And the visuals are still up.
the visuals are still up, so if we get this working and you can see us right now on YouTube, if you're watching on any other platform, which is listed on our Anchor website, spelled
It'll be on
ANCHOR
our Twitter.
.com/ the Super Informative
What's our
Podcast.
at for Twitter?
Our at for Twitter is the Super Inform Pod 1. I don't know why somebody else had taken Super Inform Pod, which is a little weird. Go follow us on all of those, and also one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I know everyone else on this podcast is gonna agree with. We are all going to be taking part in Movember, which is it's a month. It's the month of November where all men grow not all men, but men who support it grow a mustache, and it's to support it's to be in dexterity with
Do you want me to introduce it?
men's healthcare.
So Movember is a global. I think it's actually a formal charity now. It's where people who can grow facial hair will grow a mustache for the month of November. If you can't, you can help in other ways. So they do a lot of. You can do activities, so you can run a certain amount in November, and then you can upload that to the app that they have, and then you can try and get people to donate. Because especially us as 17, 18-year-olds will look stupid with a mustache going around school. But yeah, so it's to help support. I think it's different charities for men's mental health and suicide prevention, prostate and testicular cancer research. I believe.
Yeah, but that's a thing that we're going to be doing. So if you guys want to do it at home or you want to donate to that, I will put some links in the description of our Spotify account and our YouTube channel and on our Twitter. Go look at those.
I wasn't aware I was taking part, but guess I am now.
Funny, you're
You are
taking
now.
part.
Too late.
So did we did the yeah, okay. Thank you very much for watching the Super
Thank you
Informative Podcast.
indeed.
Go and listen to it on every single streaming service that we are available on, and then
All at the same time. Play them all at the same time, so it's all
sync
synced
them
up.
up.
That's
And
how you
then-
get the true podcast experience.
And then watch the YouTube one so that you can see us live if we post the
No,
video.
what we're actually going to do is we're going to do individual mic inputs on different platforms, so that you have
You
to sync
have
them up
to
at the
sync them up.
beginning of each of them.
Thank you very much for watching. Go stream it 10 times and have
Thank you very much.
Have a lovely
Tell us
day.
if you like the new formats.
good
Yes.
morning.